After more than 40 days, we finally have an agreement to end the government shutdown. And while the House and the Senate still need to take a couple more votes, looks like this thing could be wrapped up by Wednesday afternoon. So let's get into what they decided on and what comes next. So first of all, you have those programs for veterans, for food assistance, for agriculture. That's going to be fully funded until September of next year. Those are all updated funding levels. Rest of the government, you're just going to continue current funding levels until January 30th. That's going to give them more time to try and figure out update funding levels. Could potentially have another shutdown then, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Other big thing, federal employees who would have otherwise been fired at the end of this shutdown, they're going to be able to keep their jobs, and all federal employees are going to get back pay that they did not get during this shutdown. Now, the thing that's not in there are those Affordable Care Act tax credits that are keeping healthcare costs low for millions of Americans. All Democrats got was a promise from Senator John Thune that at some point in mid-December, they could vote on a bill to extend them, which means the countdown is now on for Democrats to find some sort of bipartisan ground with enough Republicans that when that bill comes to the floor, it can pass. And that's going to be a huge uphill climb, an even steeper uphill climb, because then that bill will need to go through the House. No guarantee of exactly what happens there, but we know now that the clock is ticking to make sure that those tax credits are reauthorized by the end of the year, or a lot of Americans are going to see their health care premiums go way, way up.
Tonight, 8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote. What it does, first of all, is it raises health care premiums for over 20 million Americans by doubling, and in some cases tripling or quadrupling. People can't afford that when we are already paying the highest prices in the world for health care. Number two, it paves the way for 15 million people to be thrown off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. Studies show that will mean that some 50,000 Americans will die every year unnecessarily. And all of that was done to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. As everybody knows, just on Tuesday, we had an election all over this country. And what the election showed is that the American people want us to stand up to Trumpism, to his war against working class people, to his authoritarianism. That is what the American people wanted, but tonight, that is not what happened. So we've got to go forward, do the best that we can to try to protect working class people, to make sure that the United States not only does not throw people off of health care, but ends the absurdity of being the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people. We got a lot of work to do. But to be honest with you, tonight was not a good night. Thank you.
So you mean to tell me the deal that the Democrats agreed to was based upon a promise by Senator John Thune, a promise that he will further discuss extending the ACA subsidies by January the 30th. Baby, we know that that's a promise that will not keep, because previously Speaker Mike Johnson said that he will not vote on extending the ACA subsidies. So we know that that's a promise that will not keep. Now, I am for people getting paid. I know people were suffering and they need to get paid. We all deserve to get paid. But my heart still aches for those that are going to be, taken off of Medicaid, for those that have already experienced that their health insurance is going to go up, and I mean it's going to go up. My heart aches for those people. But again, that was not a deal. That was not a deal. Baby, when I say both sides need to go. Because at this point, Republicans nor Democrats are working for the people. That's what it's getting to. They're not working for the people. And that's just all I have to say.
So after 40 days of the American people suffering, 7 Senate Democrats and 1 Senate Independent caved based on a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I gotcha, bro, from Senate Republicans. And now the American people will yet again pay for that decision. So in case you haven't heard, a small group of traitors, I mean moderate Democrats, crossed the aisle to help Republicans push through a short-term funding bill to end the shutdown. Who are these 8 senators? I'm so glad you asked. First up, we have Senator Richard Durbin from Illinois, retiring. Second, we have Senator Jeannie Shaheen, New Hampshire, retiring. Then we have Senator Catherine Cortez Masto in Nevada, Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Senator Johnny Fetterman in Pennsylvania. What do these 3 have in common, you ask? Well, none of them are up for re-election until 2028. Leaves a long time for us to forget, huh? Lastly, we have Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada, Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, and Senator Angus King of Maine, who is the independent. Now, what do these 3 share? I'm glad you asked. They aren't up for re-election until 2030. Again, we have a long time to just forget about their traitorous ways. Are you catching my drift? We're not going to forget. In fact, I'm going to make it my personal mission to repost this video and remake this video every single year until their re-election time. And I'm going to actively remind people of the decision that they made to hand over the lives of millions of Americans into the hands of the Republicans. Anyways, so while this bill does reopen the government and give federal workers their back pay, it stops at late January and drops the healthcare tax credit extension that Democrats promised to fight for. So as I stated earlier, Republicans gave their word, because that's so valuable, that they would work on it later, but there's no guarantee in black and white. So as consequence, this deal leaves millions of Americans still hanging, arguably the most vulnerable Americans, most specifically the families that are depending on these subsidies. So yeah, the shutdown might be ending, but the fallout, the cost, that lands right back on regular people like you and like me.
Justice Ketanji Brown sent that shit back to the lower courts because the lower courts were going to have to look for more evidence, which meaning they would have to audit the social assistance programs, meaning we were going to figure out where all this money was coming from, and all that other stuff. And instead of an audit actually happening, 8 Democrats decided to switch sides and sell us out. And this is not the first time these 8 Democrats have sold us out. They've done it before. And they switched sides and they sold us out. So an audit could not be triggered because a decision has come to clear or whatever. That government shutdown, everybody's saying it was a coup. Yeah, the coup has been happening. The coup was the election, babe. He cheated. The government shutdown was to launder some money out. So, like, they had some money. Like, they used that to launder out SNAP funds. Like, that's what that was for. Elon's Doge was to see where could he launder money out of, and no one would really notice. You get what I'm saying? Like, come on. Like, what do you mean we held out for 45 days and had no demands? No demands? No demands? Like, seriously? Like, seriously, no demands? My college campus would have made these Democrats look like fucking milk. Again, Malcolm X was right. The Democrats sold you out. And what do they look like? They don't look like me.
So after 41 days of the government shutdown, thousands of federal workers going without pay, some having to work without pay, all to round it out without anything gained. It's just absolutely mind-blowing that they got 7, I should say, Democrats and 1 independent to switch. It's just unbelievable. It really is. Now, of course, they could have been rounding out people behind the scenes, and then once they got the votes, they put it out there and reported it to all the news outlets. But the fact that they got that many is just, I don't understand that. What was all of this for? It's really good that soon the federal workers will be able to go back to work and those who have been working will get paid eventually and get all their back paid. That's great. But I saw, of course, this isn't representative of everybody, obviously, but the fact that so many people that worked for, the federal government said that they were willing to hold out if the Democrats would have came out successful at the end. And I just feel that you let all of those people down. What was the purpose of that to begin with? Now, I could see in the case that, if it was just literally not going anywhere, that could be the case, because I do definitely believe the Republicans were not going to change their mind. They aren't going to budge. So at that point, like, what do you do if it just ends up being a stalemate? But the Democrats couldn't have done anything. I'm just going to be honest. I think that the news of this being released today, I think a lot of people around the country are going to be done with the Democratic Party. I think this probably put the nail in the coffin for a lot of people, especially if you were an impacted worker, because this is just nonsense to me. I really feel like it's time to come up with a third party. Like let's come up with the New Democrats Party or New Democratic Party, because these people that have been in the Congress for years upon years, for the majority of some people's lives, even probably the majority of my life, if not all of it, it's just time for there to be some change. It can't just be a two-party system anymore. Yes, there's still some benefits that everything is going to go back to normal. People are going to be getting paid, and I think Adelita will be able to be sworn in. A lot of people are hoping that once she gets sworn in, then they could do a vote on the Epstein files. To really be honest, I kind of don't even care about that. I would rather, I know this is going to be a controversial take, but I would rather people be able to have affordable health care rather than the Epstein files get out, because there's going to be some kind of cover up with it anyway. That's just what I think. I don't know the ins and outs of it. And who knows, even if something would have happened with coming up to a compromise, who knows if that would have even went smoothly. But I just feel like the Democrats took a major L, and it's really embarrassing. I have to be for real. It's really embarrassing that we did all of this, made people suffer, made people go without their SNAP benefits, all for nothing. And don't even get me started with the fact that Trump is trying to do everything that he can to make people go without getting those benefits. And it's just absolutely insane that people are still backing this man when he's showing his true colors. I'm not going to go into a whole long rant on this one, guys. I'm going to keep it short. I think all of this speaks for itself, and I definitely agree with the last creator at the end. I think there's probably some kind of money laundering or something happening behind the scenes to where this many people came to agree upon it all at once. But I just think that this is absolutely unacceptable to make people go through all of this and we got nothing in return. People may still have to pay double or maybe even triple on their health care if this subsidy extension doesn't pass. And I think they really dropped the ball, and this is something we're going to have to pay attention to because it's not good. Now, just like the one creator said that a couple of these Democrats that are voting are retiring, and the rest aren't even up for re-election until 2028. So if you live in any of these states where any of these representatives cover, like if they're in your district, keep this in mind for 2028. Do not forget. Anyway, you guys, I'm not going to keep talking in circles. It's just disappointing and upsetting. My heart goes out to those who had to go through all of this and nothing is even going to be happening in the end. But let me know what you guys think about this down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because that will really let me know that you're liking my videos and want to see more, and it also helps us support the channel. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye. See you later.